All right, everybody, I am back with a brand new update. And today I am going to be talking about Rebel Moon specifically. And I will have a DC update a little bit later. And then later today, I am actually seeing Rebel Moon at a local theater. And we'll have my honest review up later this evening. Now, it's going to be late tonight. So for people on the East Coast, you probably won't be able to see that review until tomorrow, but it will be going up live as soon as I get back from the theater tonight. It's at least an hour drive from where I live, and the movie starts at 7 p.m. Mountain Time, and then is going to go. The movie's like almost 2.5 hours long, and then the drive back. So by the time I get my review done and up, it's probably going to be close to midnight. My time is my guess. And so if you're looking for it, you can look for it tonight late, or you can look for it tomorrow. And I'm going to be 100% honest in my review of that film. Now, I want to talk about a discussion I had with some people on Twitter or X, I don't know what people want to call it anymore, yesterday in regards to Rebel Moon and also the controversy behind it. These people, there were some individuals on Twitter who said that Zack Snyder is kind of ruining their enjoyment out of these films again by not releasing the R-rated version first. And this is what I wanted to talk about this morning, because they make it sound like Zack Snyder is sabotaging his own movies when he is not. He never has. And Zack Snyder was very upfront about what was happening with Rebel Moon from the beginning. So anybody who's been following Rebel Moon knows that there are two versions coming. We've got the PG-13 version right now that's in select theaters, press screenings tonight, and is going to be on Netflix in 2 days, 2.5 days. So it is going to be released Thursday night, I think 7 p.m. Pacific time, if I'm not mistaken. So it is going to start a little early. And they always said that was going to happen. And this is a brilliant marketing strategy by Netflix, because they're going to get a bunch of views on this movie now. But then before part 2 comes out, they're going to be able to announce this much longer, more adult version that they can then get people to watch it again before the second film gets released in April. Zack Snyder was very upfront and honest about this when he announced Rebel Moon was coming out. Now, some people wanted to equate this to the same situation that happened with Warner Brothers and Batman vs. Superman, and also Zack Snyder's Justice League. And there is no comparison. The studio is the one that forced Zack Snyder to cut Batman vs. Superman to get more tickets sold, more people in the seats. The longer the film is, the fewer tickets you can sell throughout the day. It reduces the amount of showings. So Warner Brothers forced him to cut over a half an hour out of Batman vs. Superman, which greatly affected the film. Even I, when I saw Batman vs. Superman, was not all that thrilled with the version that I got. I mean, I enjoyed the movie for what it was, but I knew that there was a much longer, that the movie had been butchered, basically. I could feel it. I knew it had happened. It was literally the next day when Warner Brothers released a cut scene from the film with Lex Luthor going into the Kryptonian ship to communicate with Steppenwolf. And when I saw this, I'm like, why did they not have this scene in the film? And then it was announced that same day that there would be a longer version being released on home video, because Warner Brothers didn't want the longer version in theaters. And this is what kicked off the whole controversy with the DCEU. And then you had Zack Snyder's Justice League, in which he had to leave because of a family emergency, but they were forcing him to keep that movie around 2 hours. And he just said it wasn't possible. And so he, after the tragedy of his daughter, he decided to just pass it off and let Warner Brothers take care of it on their own, in which case they brought in Whedon, and he just totally destroyed the film. The theatrical version of Justice League is a travesty. It's awful. It's terrible. It should have never been released. They should have held on to that movie until Zack Snyder was able to come back, and this also caused more division amongst everything. So the studios basically stabbed him in the back and would not allow him to release his versions of the film in theaters. That is not what is happening here. He went in knowing fully well that they were going to have two versions of the film. Now, I do agree with one point, one aspect of the argument here, that they have to understand that people aren't going to be as satisfied with this version of the film. And I totally can appreciate that. I know going in tonight that this film is not going to be a complete film. I know that the R-rated version is coming later. I know it is definitely going to be better. And that's just a fact of the situation. I am going to base this movie on what I see in theaters, because I could tell you Batman vs. Superman, I would have given the theatrical version about 3.5 stars, but the full version is a 5-star film. That extra 35 minutes or so that they added makes a huge difference in the film. And it was all because the studio forced him to cut it. The studio is not forcing Zack Snyder to do anything on this movie. This is a marketing, and I think it's brilliant on their part for views, because they're going to get a crap ton of people to watch it. It's not going to be reviewed as well, I will tell you that, this version. But then the extended version is going to come out, the R-rated version, and it's going to get much, much better reviews. Now, talking about the reviews, we still have the whole Rotten Tomatoes, controversy going on, and there are actually people on there defending the critics. John Campea and some others are on there saying, that the critics' scores are verified and that they have a right to be on there, but that they need to have a better vetting system for the customers, which there's going to be no way to manage that, especially on a streaming service. There's going to be no way to prove that you have that Netflix account and that you've actually seen the film. But you have to admit there's a problem on both sides, and I've talked about, I have a video of both of those, and I'll leave a link to both of the videos that I created in regards to the Rotten Tomatoes score in the description of this video. So if you haven't seen those, you can go back and watch it. But the critics are a sham, because most of the reviews people talk about their hate about Snyder himself and about the fandom. And then you have all the people on the audience side who some admit they haven't even seen the film, but they're giving it 5 stars to offset some of what the critics have done. But then there's also a bunch of 1-star reviews where people haven't even seen the film yet, and they admit it as well. So the score is not reliable. Rotten Tomatoes, their whole sole purpose was for people to go there and see honest reviews. They've been compromised by PR firms, the people they've been in bed with, the fact that they're about it's a business. Rotten Tomatoes is a business like every other business, and they care about the money. And I can guarantee you money is being exchanged and favors are being exchanged for certain reviews on certain films. Hollywood in general has a vested interest in some of these streaming movies getting poor reviews, because it ruins their whole business model. They want people in theaters. They're not all about the streaming. Streaming comes later. Well, this is a straight-to-streaming video, a straight-to-streaming movie, and they don't want that to be the norm. They want people to still go into theaters, and so they are going to arbitrarily give this a horrible review. Not arbitrarily. That's not the right word. They're going to, on purpose, give these horrible reviews to combat and make people think it's horrible and that they should be going into the movies and seeing other films, not streaming films on Netflix. Most of these companies hate Netflix, I can tell you that, because, believe it or not, Netflix this last year was the only streaming service that actually had a profit. That's huge, and that's where Netflix is. And just yesterday, there was a video where Scott Stuber, who is the head of Netflix, he came out and did, again, reiterate that the more Zack they have on their platform, the better they're going to be, and it's going to be better for everybody. And so you can expect to see some stuff come down the pike. My review is going to be honest tonight, and I'll tell you if it feels butchered and if it's worth waiting to see. And, if I didn't have my review channel, I would just be waiting for the full rated R version to come out. I don't think I'd be watching this. Well, I would for my channel. And like I said, if I didn't have a channel and I was just a regular Joe Schmo, knowing what they've done with Zack Snyder in the past and cutting his stuff versus his unaltered stuff, I would just be waiting for that R version to come out. And so some of you might want to just do that. Just skip this version, wait until that R version comes out, and watch the full version of the film rather than this one that has been watered down. All right, so there's my Rebel Moon update for the day. I will be back with a DC update a little bit later, and then tonight I will be back with my Rebel Moon review. I do appreciate all the support. We will see you on the next video.